Yom HaAtzmaut from last week, we didn't finish that conversation. I just wanted to... My wife corrected me, I was right. She was right. I tried to make it look a little bit better than it was, and she came in and I've been thinking about the whole situation we spoke about last week. In my worldview, Yonatan Halevy, forget what I do, my professions, in my worldview, you cannot be a religious Jew without viewing the state of Israel as a breakthrough in the redemption of the Jewish people. You can't. But, thank God, I'm not the one who dictates religion to anybody. There are many views when it comes to the world of religion, and there are many valid opinions in the Jewish stream, and it's okay for rabbis and synagogues and communities to have their own view regarding this specific part of Jewish history. I just wish that people would be intellectually honest with their followers or their communities about their actual belief system. And they wouldn't pretend to have one belief system because it's popular and internally have a different belief because that's the way they really believe, or that's the way they would like people to believe, but they're not willing to share it with their community or with their constituents. So people can have different opinions. They just should be honest about having those opinions and not cover them up with...
I did ask, by the way. I did ask.
Did you get an answer you liked or didn't like?
I got an answer that was very good.
Okay.
I got a good answer. I was surprised. I wasn't anticipating them to say yes. Did you believe in the state of Israel?
But I believe in the state of Israel it's a trick question. How do you not believe it exists? So you can't not believe in the state of Israel. The question is, do you believe that the state of Israel, beginning in 1948, is part of a religious... Does it have religious ramifications specifically with the redemption of the Jewish people?
Oh, that's a question I didn't ask.
Right. See, everyone loves Israel. I told you that at the beginning of last week's class. Everyone loves Israel. Everyone visits Israel. People aren't that fanatically crazy. The question is, does it hold religious significance? That's the question that most people, they'll dance around this question. Because it's a very hard question to answer.
I don't think we should be. That was on the floor. Let's not do that.
That was just my disclaimer from last week. Yom HaShamayim is around the corner. We'll be talking more about that when it comes. Let's hand these out. I think we finally have some time to get to it. Rabbi Uziel is begging now at the end of his letter the Jewish people reconsider their observance of Torah and mitzvot. And he says, Shimud mitzvotei kehillat, please, page 7 at the bottom of the page.
Okay.
Observe the mitzvot of the Torah properly. Vet chukeha u'mishpateha b'shleimutam, and all of the laws in a complete fashion. Ki mishpatei Adonai emet tzadaku yachdav, because the words of God are not just true, but they're also righteous, they're also proper. The more you delve into the Torah, and that was the inspiration behind this class. So many people talk about the laws of Shabbat, and the laws of kosher, and the laws of tefillin, and the laws of mezuzah, and the laws of candle lighting, and the laws of the... And not enough people talk about the laws of Hashem that are objectively beautiful. Like, do not hate your brother in your heart, giving constructive criticism, how to deal with frauds, love your fellow like yourself. All the mitzvot that we've been dealing with in the last 4 years of this class have been mitzvot that are universal, call them humanistic mitzvot, that the more you delve into the way that Hashem put these mitzvot together, you cannot help but say, wow, this is a special system that we have. Something here makes sense. Something here is just larger than life. And Rav Uziel is saying the words of Hashem are not just true, but if you delve into them properly, they come out to be very righteous. V'zichu tamid ba'ava, just is perhaps the better word, to be very just. V'zichu tamid ba'ava divrei Adon HaNevi'im, and always remember, but remember ba'ava, with love. Again, this word is a very important word to throw in here. Don't remember the Torah out of fear. Don't remember the Torah out of intimidation. Don't remember the Torah by thinking of fire and brimstone and hell and all kinds of things like that. Remember the words of the Torah out of love. It's a theme that he started off the beginning of the letter with. Divrei Adon Nevi'im, the words of the master of all the prophets, Ve'isha Elohim, and the man of God. Who is this? Who's the father of all the prophets? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu. B'Torat Kodsho, in his holy Torah, Le'emor, and he said, Vayitzavenu Adonai Eloheinu la'asot et kol ha'chukim ha'ele. Hashem has commanded us to do all of these mitzvot, Li'yirat Adonai Eloheinu, so that we may... Lira is not the proper word as fear. Lira, the word yira comes from the word to see. Lirot. To be aware. Awareness of Hashem. Letov lanu kol hayamim. Because it is good for us. Not because it's good for Hashem. It's good for us. Lechayotenu kayom hazeh. To give us life today. Utzdaka tiye lanu im nishmor la'asot et kol hachukim ha'ele kasher tzivanu. And says Rav Uzziel, and it will be considered charitable for us to do these mitzvot. It will be good for us to do them as we were commanded them. And he's going to throw in a sentence here that's not politically correct. Mibli ta'arovet zara, without any foreign influences. Mimishpatei ha'amim, from the laws of the other nations. V'datehem, and their religions or their ways. What does that mean? I mean, perform the mitzvot of the Torah the way the Torah wants them, not without any influence from the surrounding people or from foreign influences to Judaism. What does it mean?
I would say also mixed marriage and all these things.
Okay, so you're talking about assimilation. I don't know that he's talking here about... He's talking about observance of Torah, meaning observe the Torah but in a pure way, in an unadulterated way, in a way that is not influenced by anyone else.
Not to be influenced by the surrounding culture which you find yourself, because we're in a diaspora, which is very hard to do.
Yeah, it's almost impossible.
Give me an example. That's exactly what he's saying, but give me an example.
I just saw a video yesterday where there were rabbis and they had bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs for dogs.
Oh,
For what?
The whole
no,
9 yards.
They call them bark mitzvahs. I saw the same video.
Are you serious? Oh,
Yes.
that's
Now that is
Now
an
I've
influence.
heard it all.
Everybody loves dogs here, right? I mean, where on earth? That's not.
I wonder how they do it.
I'm just shocked.
These are
I
people
can't
that
even
they
comment.
Dance with them, they lift
Oh,
them up.
so good.
And if you saw it, you saw the same thing.
I saw the same video she
I mean,
saw.
it has to be a suit. No, it's
No,
not.
no.
It's not.
It's real.
That is crazy.
That's Michelle.
So that is like, I mean, that goes
No,
very
that would
far,
be a
but
classic. But there you go.
Yes, don't get caught up in there.
Your dog doesn't have to have a bar mitzvah.
No.
There's a culturally Jewish aspect to bar mitzvahs, and there's a limit. It takes away from the seriousness of what it means to have a bar or bat mitzvah.
That's a brat mitzvah.
Bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Also, in the conservative movement, girls have their bat mitzvah at 13.
12.
No, it's at 13 in conservative.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I found out, and it's the influence of the egalitarian ideas, yes. and
Whereas Judaism would
talented.
promote that girls become mature before men do.
That's right, at 12.
Okay.
At
So
12,
Yes.
we've given them equal rights by making them less mature. To wait until 13.
You want to get rid of the differences between people, which is a basic tenet against Torah thinking.
I recently heard a rabbi give a speech about how the Torah believes in a capitalist economy. I'm not a political person when it comes to American politics, but I very much was bothered by his agenda in the speech. And the speech was to take Torah sources and to make the people he was talking to feel very comfortable with the message he was passing on. There are parts of the Talmud, parts of the Torah where are very socialist, are very not capitalist, are very, very, very different than the way this country operates. Taking care of the poor in extreme fashions, not just in a normal way, in an extreme way. And that's not part of this capitalist agenda. And when I confronted him, I told him, it's nice to say that the Torah is capitalist, and for a socialist crowd it would be nice to say the Torah is socialist. And I said, but you have to be honest, the Torah is neither of those. The Torah is a nice combination of all kinds of things, because the Torah is the truth, and the Torah is a way of how an economy should work. And why can't you just present the Torah as having a Torah value? This is the way the Torah would want the world to look. Why does it have to be that the Torah is democratic? People go ahead and, the Torah believes democracy, I can show you very many places in the Torah where democracy is not a value in the Torah. Where for us it's a value because we were raised in a society that taught us from day one that democracy is important. But the Torah is not necessarily a fan. In certain elements it's a fan of democracy. In other places it's absolutely not a fan of democracy. And the question is, are we busy trying to fit the Torah to us? Or are we trying to fit ourselves to the Torah? And very often I find that in the Judaism of 2015, instead of letting God create us in His image, we're creating God in our image, and we're projecting ourselves onto the Torah, projecting ourselves onto Judaism, and we're holding the Torah up to a ruler of, well, this is what 2015 America wants. So do you match this criteria? Do you not? And if it doesn't, so we just cut it out of the Torah. We just mark it out of the book, or we just edit it out of our speeches. And this is what Rabbi is talking about. He says, don't let outside influences get to your Torah. It has to be pure. And when it's pure, you'll see something that you won't find anywhere else. But it can't be influenced. It doesn't mean that you have to reject anything that comes from the world. It just means that when you want to study something pure, you have to look at it the way that it was meant to be looked at. I met a rabbi recently. I wouldn't call him a rabbi, but I met him at La Jolla Cove. I was walking, I see this guy with a rainbow kippah and whatever, he comes to say hello, and I asked him his name. He told me his name is Rabbi, and some name not in any language that I understood. I said, so what are you? He said, I am a yoga rabbi.
Yoga rabbi?
I said, great, sure. I said, what is a yoga rabbi? I said, a rabbi that does yoga. He says, that's okay, there are all kinds of rabbis who do all kinds of things. He said, no, I'm a rabbi that preaches Judaism through yoga. So I asked him, what is it? So he was telling me all kinds of, he has a small following, and they do different yoga positions, and they say Shema Yisrael while they're doing yoga, and then I was listening to him, and I was saying, you gotta choose, either do yoga, and you could do yoga, or be a rabbi and do Judaism. That unholy union of both of them, and you really lose out on both of them, is just not, I don't view that as very valuable.
Only in California.
He was actually from New York, believe it or not.
Is he a Jew?
I don't know what he is.
What is Jew?
Jewish Buddhist.
Jewish Buddhist.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
No, he was telling me that really the Torah was meant to be yoga, but we lost the message over time. And they had a whole theory about it. It was a very interesting conversation that I had. I definitely put it down in my book. But don't let the Torah be changed by outside forces. Just let the Torah be pure. I recently had this argument with somebody in my wife's family. They were telling me, if somebody doesn't dress the way we dress, so I don't really consider them observant. Not talking about ladies, I'm talking about men. If they don't wear a stripe, then they're not really observant.
That's not true.
So I asked them, I said, how can Judaism, which is a Middle Eastern religion, be dictated by an Eastern European, non-Jewish, aristocratic way of dress? Now, it could be that you'll decide to dress that way, just like I wear a black hat and those. But to then make that the ruler for what is Jewish, when very clearly Moshe came from Egypt, and the Jews went to Israel, which is the Middle East, and wore robes and turbans and sandals, and didn't wear the clothing. That can't be the crux of Jewish life. It can't be that it revolves around what kind of fur hat do you wear.
It's ethnocentric.
And they when they heard that, they were convinced that she must have married somebody not Jewish. Because how could you say such blasphemy? You have to think about it. Really, Judaism, even in our exiles, we've made it into a European Judaism, we've made it to Moroccan Judaism, into Yemenite Judaism, into Russian Judaism. Judaism is an Israeli Judaism. It's a Middle Eastern Judaism. Even Judaism, Jewish, is a non-Jewish word. We're not Jewish, really. Jewish is a word that the non-Jews gave us, and that we adopted. Why are we called Jews?
Because we have Torah and we're all on the same,
Yehuda.
supposed to be on the same.
What is
Yeah.
Jew? Jew comes from which word?
Yehuda.
Judah, which is what word in Hebrew?
Yehuda.
Yehuda. Who was Yehuda?
One of the
The
sons
third-
of
He was
second
one of the
son.
One of the tribes.
Yes.
I'm a Levi. My family, on my mother's side and on my father's side, none of us ever came from the tribe of Judah. Actually, my mother's side did. I'm not gonna lie to
But Judah was also that big section of Israel before the destruction
Yehuda
of
was
the first
a
temple.
Yehuda
Right?
and
There was
Samaria.
Israel and there was Judah.
you. Well, talk
Judea.
to me about this divide that we had. Basically, when the 10 tribes get lost, and we're left with 2 tribes, really, Yehuda and
Israel.
Israel.
No, Benjamin.
Binyamin.
Benjamin.
Why did Binyamin why were they called Yisrael?
Because
It's
they were
mixture of all the others.
Binyamin is the only son born to Yaakov after he was named Yisrael.
Oh.
Remember, they changed Yaakov's name to Israel
Yeah.
because he fought with the angel.
Yes.
The only son that he had afterwards was Binyamin.
I see.
And so you had 2 kingdoms, Yehuda and Israel. Jews were then known from that point on as Yehudim, as Judeans, because of the one tribe of Judah, but we're not. We're actually
No, but
Israelim. That's what we
but
should be
the
referred
tribe
to.
of Judah was the one that we can carry on the lineage. We don't know what's happened to the Israel. They spread all over. That's
I'm
what
from
we
Levi,
say.
though. I'm telling my lineage is intact. The Kohanim, the Leviim. So why do I go by the title Jew? If someone asks me, you're Jewish, I should say no. I'm not Jewish.
You lady.
I'm a Levi. Right, I would totally confuse them. That's what would happen.
And
The truth is, we use this word because the non-Jews around us chose to refer to us as Jews. And so we adopted this term of Jews, and Jewish literature now calls us Yehudim. But it's not a Jewish, it's not a original Jewish.
Historically accurate.
We
Right.
were referred to as the tribe we came from originally.
Yeah, as part of the collective children of Israel, Israelim.
but they were the Kohanim, the Israelim, and the Levium.
The Israelim was a generic term referred to
For
as Jews.
everybody else.
So when you excluded the Kohanim and the Levim, everyone would be called Israelim.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We have certain things programmed into us, and it's bad enough that we've, over our history, allowed for certain things to change us or influence us. But at the end of the day, we should be trying to come back to some kind of bigger picture. And part of that is knowing that our Torah has to be pure. We have to be willing to look at the Torah again with an open mind. What does the Torah want from us?
But in some ways, this flexibility has allowed us to survive.
Sure.
I mean, Romans don't exist anymore.
I'm not sure it's because of the Strimals that don't
No,
exist.
no, I'm not saying.
If anything, in the middle of August with the Strimals, you might also end up like a Roman.
So you're saying that we should transcend the differences, the compartmentalized differences that we have, whether it be in the Ashkenazi or the Sephardic community, and come together using the purity of the Torah, so we see ourselves really as one united people, as opposed to looking at a Torah that has shtreimel, that has different chickpeas for seders, and all this and
I'll tell you, and this has to be done in a very balanced fashion. We're not.
My chickpeas. I'm rocking it hard.
We're not gonna throw the 2,000 years of our laws and traditions out of the window. But when you take an objective look at Judaism and say, what is Judaism, and what have I developed outside of my Jewish experience, bagels and cream cheese and lox are not a Jewish food.
No.
They're not. I know that everyone thinks that, but they're not a Jewish food.
From New York, don't
I mean,
It's Moroccan.
my grandmother, I'll tell you, my mother's mother, she came to San Diego when my father's mother passed away. And my father was sitting Shiva here. So she came, and as is tradition, after the men pray in the Shiva house, they eat breakfast there.
Yes.
So they put out food. So at the time, it was the Chabad minion that was coming to the house, and what did they eat for breakfast? Bagels, cream cheese, lox. And she would put out the lox on the table. I'll never forget it. My grandma with 2 gloves on her hands.
She don't want to touch it.
She could not touch it with her hands. She had to wear double gloves.